Most men don't lose the woman they love because of a lack of feelings, they lose her because of the small mistakes they never notice. Mistakes that quietly push her away until one day she's gone. In today's message, inspired by Matthew Hussey, we're uncovering the 3 biggest mistakes men make in relationships. If you've ever wondered why she pulled away, why her interest faded, or why things suddenly changed, this may be the answer you've been searching for. Most men don't lose the woman they love because of some dramatic fight or one single obvious mistake. They lose her quietly, they lose her slowly, they lose her in the everyday moments where they didn't even realize something was slipping away. When you ask a man, why did she leave? He often says, I don't know, everything seemed fine and then suddenly she was gone. But the truth is, it wasn't sudden, it was building for a long time. There's a reason so many men are blindsided when a woman says, I just don't feel the same anymore. They think love disappears overnight. It doesn't. What disappears are the little feelings of safety, attraction and connection that were once there, and those feelings erode when certain patterns go unnoticed. And here's the part that's most painful. Many men are repeating these patterns without even realizing it. Think about it. A woman doesn't usually wake up one morning and say, I don't love him anymore. She feels herself drifting away because the relationship has been quietly starving. It's like a plant that looks fine on the outside, but underneath, it hasn't been watered in weeks. By the time the leaves start to brown, it's already dying. Relationships work the same way. What pushes women away isn't usually one big betrayal. It's the slow erosion caused by repeated mistakes that no one talks about. And that's why this message is so important. Because if you're a man who truly cares, if you've ever thought to yourself, why do women pull away? Why does she seem less interested? Why does she not look at me the way she used to? It's not because you're not enough. It's because there are behaviors, small but powerful, that chip away at her desire and her trust. And if you don't become aware of them, you'll lose her without ever understanding why. I've spoken to countless men who said, she left me but I never cheated. I never lied. I never hurt her. And that may be true, but that doesn't mean mistakes weren't made. The mistakes that push women away are subtle. They're not shouted in arguments. They're whispered in silence. They're not in the obvious things you did wrong. They're in the things you didn't even notice you were doing or not doing. And here's what makes it tricky. When these mistakes begin, she doesn't tell you right away. At first, she gives you grace. She hopes you'll notice. She forgives the little things. She tells herself, it's not a big deal. Maybe he's just stressed. Maybe he'll change. But as time goes on and the pattern repeats, she stops hoping. She stops believing things will get better. And when a woman loses hope, she doesn't usually fight. She withdraws. That's why so many men are shocked. They think everything is okay because she isn't complaining loudly. They think silence means peace. But silence doesn't always mean peace. It can mean distance. It can mean resignation. And that resignation is the calm before the storm of her leaving. If you've ever been in that situation, if you've ever seen the woman you love grow colder, less affectionate, less responsive, you know how painful it feels. You start trying harder in the wrong ways. You overcompensate. You panic. But by then the foundation has already been weakened. And this is why awareness is everything. Because if you see the mistakes early, you can stop them before they create damage that can't be repaired. The truth is, love doesn't die because two people aren't compatible. Most of the time, love dies because we stop paying attention. We stop noticing the small shifts. We stop recognizing that relationships are living things that need to be cared for every single day. And so as we move forward, I want you to see this not as criticism but as empowerment. Because once you know the 3 mistakes that push women away, you can avoid them. You can stop being in the dark, wondering what went wrong, and start creating relationships that thrive instead of wither. This is about becoming conscious, intentional, and present, because awareness is the first step to change. So before we uncover the 3 mistakes themselves, I want you to remember this. Women don't walk away because of nothing. They walk away because over time something inside them feels unseen, unheard, or unvalued. If you can understand that, you can change everything. One of the biggest reasons women begin to pull away isn't because a man doesn't care, it's because he cares in the wrong way. At first it feels flattering when someone shows you attention, when they want to be around you, when they're always texting and checking in. But over time, what begins as affection can turn into suffocation, and many men don't realize where that line is until it's too late. The truth is, neediness doesn't look like love, it looks like pressure. When a man becomes clingy, when he's constantly asking, where are you? Who are you with? Do you still love me? Why didn't you text me back right away? He thinks he's showing his devotion, but what she feels is the weight of his insecurity. And nothing kills attraction faster than insecurity disguised as romance. A woman wants to feel chosen, yes, but she doesn't want to feel trapped. She wants to know that you value her, but she also wants to know that you value yourself. When your whole world revolves around her, when you stop having your own passions, your own friends, your own identity, you're not giving her love, you're asking her to carry the burden of being your entire source of happiness. And that's not love, that's dependence. Think about it. In the beginning of a relationship, one of the things that attracts her most is your confidence. She sees a man with direction, a man who has purpose, a man who can bring energy and excitement into her life. That's magnetic. But the moment she feels like you've abandoned your own life just to orbit around hers, the polarity disappears. Instead of being drawn to you, she feels pushed away. And here's the painful part. Many men don't even realize they're doing it. They confuse persistence with passion. They think that calling 10 times a day is showing love. They think dropping everything to be with her every second is proof of commitment. They think constantly seeking reassurance is honesty. But what she experiences is different. She feels smothered, and worse, she feels like she can't breathe without hurting you. Love isn't about proving that you can't live without someone. Real love is about choosing someone even though you could live without them. When a woman senses that you can't stand on your own, she stops feeling safe with you. Because safety doesn't come from someone clinging tighter, it comes from someone standing stronger. Imagine holding a balloon. If you grip it gently, it stays with you. It floats, it's light, it's beautiful. But if you squeeze it too hard, you pop it, or it slips out of your hands. That's what happens when you hold on to a relationship with fear instead of trust. You think the tighter you hold, the safer it is. But in reality, the tighter you hold, the faster it disappears. And here's something most men don't realize. When you're needy, you're not just hurting her attraction, you're also hurting your own growth. You stop chasing your dreams because you're too busy chasing her texts. You stop focusing on your purpose because you're too focused on her attention. And eventually, she stops seeing you as the man she admired and starts seeing you as someone she has to constantly reassure. That role doesn't feel romantic to her. It feels like parenting. And no woman wants to mother the man she's supposed to be attracted to. If you've ever heard her say, "I just need space," or "I feel like you're always on top of me," or "I don't have room to breathe," that's the sound of neediness, slowly killing the relationship. And it's not because she doesn't love you, it's because she doesn't feel free with you anymore. The irony is, men cling out of fear of losing her, but clinging is the very thing that makes her leave. So what's the alternative? The alternative is strength. It's showing her that you love her deeply, but you're also fulfilled in your own life. It's balancing closeness with independence. It's understanding that the most attractive man isn't the one who abandons everything for her, but the one who keeps becoming more of himself while loving her fully. When you do that, she doesn't feel like your whole identity is riding on her attention. She feels like she's with a man, not a boy begging for constant approval. And this is the lesson. If you want to keep her, don't make her your oxygen. Make her your partner. Let her be inspired by the fact that you have your own passions, your own drive, your own strength, because the moment you stop needing her every second, she starts wanting you even more. One of the deepest reasons women pull away is not because of arguments, not because of physical attraction fading, but because of something quieter, something far more dangerous, the loss of emotional connection. Most men underestimate how powerful this need really is. They assume if they're providing, if they're present in the same house, if they're loyal, that should be enough. But for a woman, love is not measured by how many bills you pay or how many hours you're in the room. It's measured by how deeply she feels seen, heard, and understood. In the early days of a relationship, emotional connection is effortless. You talk for hours, you ask questions, you listen to every detail of her life. You remember the way her eyes light up when she tells you a story, and you make her feel like she is the most fascinating person in the world. That feeling is intoxicating. It creates a bond that makes her want to be close to you, to share with you, to give more of herself to you. But somewhere along the way, many men stop doing the very things that made her fall in love. They assume the connection is already built, so they no longer put in the same effort. Conversations get shorter, texts get less thoughtful. Instead of curiosity, there's routine. Instead of listening, there's distraction. And slowly, without realizing it, the bridge between you starts to crumble. A woman doesn't need you to solve every problem she has. She doesn't need you to always have the perfect answer. What she needs is to feel that you're present with her, that you care about her inner world, that you're not just with her physically but emotionally too. When she talks, and you're staring at your phone, when she shares something vulnerable, and you brush it off, when she's upset and you try to fix her instead of listening, she doesn't feel safe with you anymore. And safety isn't about physical protection alone, it's about knowing she can bring her heart to you, and it won't be ignored. The irony is, many men ignore emotional connection, not out of malice but out of habit. They think, we're fine, she knows I love her. But love is not static. Love is a living thing that needs to be nurtured. If you don't water it, it withers. And a woman who feels emotionally neglected doesn't always leave with anger. More often, she leaves with quiet sadness. She leaves because she no longer feels like the woman she was when you first met her. She leaves because she feels invisible. Imagine this. When she comes home after a hard day and wants to talk, she doesn't need a lecture or a quick solution. She needs to feel that her words matter to you, that her emotions aren't too heavy for you, that you're willing to hold space for her. If she can't get that from you, she begins to look elsewhere. not necessarily to another man, but to her friends, her family, anyone who will make her feel heard. And when she starts sharing her deepest self with others instead of you, the intimacy between you dies. This is why so many men are blindsided when she says, "I just don't feel close to you anymore." They think closeness means sleeping in the same bed or spending time together, but closeness is not about proximity, it's about presence. You can be sitting right next to her and still make her feel completely alone. The most attractive thing you can give a woman is not money, not looks, not status, it's the gift of emotional connection. It's the way you lean in when she speaks, the way you remember the little things she tells you, the way you validate her feelings instead of dismissing them. That's what makes her feel chosen every single day. If you ignore this, you risk losing her in the most painful way, not through a dramatic fight, but through quiet detachment. She'll smile less, share less, laugh less, she'll stop reaching for your hand, stop telling you about her dreams, stop looking at you the way she once did, and by the time you realize something is wrong, she's already halfway gone. But the good news is, emotional connection can be rebuilt. It starts with paying attention again. It starts with being curious about her world again. It starts with choosing to listen more than you speak, to understand before you try to fix. When you do that, she doesn't just feel loved, she feels safe, cherished, and alive in your presence, and that feeling is what keeps her from ever wanting to leave. So remember this, she doesn't walk away because she stopped loving you, she walks away because she stopped feeling loved by you. If you make emotional connection a priority, you won't just keep her heart, you'll deepen her trust and desire in ways that last far beyond the first spark. We've uncovered the 3 mistakes that push women away: being too needy, stopping your own growth, ignoring emotional connection, and maybe, as you've listened, you've recognized yourself in some of these. Maybe you thought about the moments where you called too much, where you made her your entire world, where you stopped chasing your dreams, or where you dismissed her feelings without meaning to. If that stings, it's okay. That sting is not meant to shame you, it's meant to wake you up, because pain is a teacher, and awareness is the first step toward change. Every man stumbles in love. Every man, no matter how strong, no matter how confident, has moments where he gets it wrong. The difference is not between the men who fail and the men who succeed. The difference is between those who keep repeating the same mistakes and those who decide, "I will not lose the same way twice." And that choice is in front of you right now, because the mistakes we've talked about are not permanent scars, they're patterns, and patterns can be broken. You don't have to live as the man who clings until she suffocates. You don't have to live as the man who stops growing until she loses respect. You don't have to live as the man who ignores her heart until she walks away. You can become the man who learns, who grows, who evolves into the partner she can trust, admire, and love more deeply every year. Here's the truth most men never face. Women don't leave because you made one mistake. They leave because you stop paying attention. They leave because you stop noticing the little shifts. They leave because you assume she will always stay, no matter how much you neglect the things that matter most. And the irony is that the very things you take for granted in her, the way she smiles at you, the way she gives you affection, the way she chooses you day after day, are the things that begin to disappear when she no longer feels seen. But it doesn't have to end that way. A relationship doesn't crumble overnight. It crumbles in the daily moments where you either choose to be present or you choose to drift. And that means you also have the power to rebuild it in the daily moments where you decide to do things differently, where you decide to give love, not out of fear, but out of strength, where you decide to bring curiosity back into the relationship, where you decide to keep investing in yourself so that she looks at you and still feels the admiration she felt at the start. Ask yourself, what kind of man do you want to be remembered as? Do you want to be the man who only loved in the beginning, when it was easy? Or do you want to be the man who kept showing up, kept growing, kept giving, long after the excitement of the early days faded? Do you want to be the man who had her love but lost it because you stopped trying? Or the man who kept her love because you never stopped choosing her, never stopped choosing yourself, never stopped choosing growth? Because here is something she will never tell you directly, but it is the truth. What makes her stay isn't just love. Love is the foundation, but love without respect turns into frustration. Love without admiration turns into disappointment. Love without connection turns into loneliness. If you want her to stay, you have to give her more than love. You have to give her the experience of being with a man she can admire, a man she feels safe with, a man who makes her feel cherished. And that is within your power, not tomorrow, not someday, right now, today, because the way you show up in this moment, in this day, is what sets the tone for everything that follows. Every time you choose strength over neediness, every time you choose growth over stagnation, every time you choose connection over distraction, you are building the kind of relationship that doesn't just survive, it thrives. Think about the legacy you want to leave in love. When she looks back years from now, will she say, "He stopped trying after he got me, he stopped inspiring me, he stopped listening to me"? Or will she say, "He kept growing, he kept making me feel seen, he kept making me feel like I was worth choosing every single day"? That's the choice you face, and that choice is not made in grand gestures once a year. It's made in the small moments, the daily actions, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you carry yourself. The mistakes we've talked about today, neediness, stagnation, emotional neglect, these are not your destiny, they are only habits, and habits can be broken the moment you decide that the cost of keeping them is greater than the comfort they bring. Because comfort may feel safe, but in relationships, comfort without effort is the slowest kind of destruction. So I want you to decide right here, right now, what kind of partner you will be. Decide that you will no longer beg for love, you will embody love. Decide that you will no longer shrink to keep someone, you will expand so she has even more reason to stay. Decide that you will no longer tune out when she speaks, you will lean in, not because you have to, but because you want to. Because you understand that connection is the oxygen of a relationship, and you refuse to let it run out. And when you do that, something amazing happens. She doesn't just stay, she invests back. She doesn't just love you, she respects you. She doesn't just feel secure, she feels inspired. And that more than anything else is what creates a relationship that lasts. So remember this, she doesn't want perfection. She doesn't need you to never slip, never fail, never make mistakes. What she needs is to feel that you care enough to keep showing up, to keep learning, to keep growing. She needs to feel that your love is alive, not just in words but in action, and if you can give her that, you won't just hold her heart, you'll hold it in a way that makes her want to keep giving it to you over and over again. That is the power of avoiding these mistakes. That is the path to not just keeping her, but keeping her love alive. So don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait for her to walk away before you realize what she means to you. Start now. Choose to become the man who doesn't just win her once, but wins her every day. Because the greatest relationships aren't built on luck, they're built on commitment, awareness, and the decision to love with strength instead of fear. And when you make that decision, you'll find that you don't have to chase her, you don't have to beg her, you don't have to fear losing her. Because the kind of woman worth keeping will always stay with the kind of man who never stops growing, never stops connecting, and never stops making her feel chosen. That's the man you are capable of being. And if you choose it, you won't just keep her, you'll inspire her to stay, always.